McBride. So this is my laptop, so I'm recording the screen for you. Yours is going to look a little bit different, but we do both have Chrome, which if you look down here, here's the Chrome. You'll have Chrome somewhere else on your desktop. I'm going to open Chrome. I'm going to hit the plus sign. I've already copied and pasted it, but if you ever forget, remember, it's just Daily Bread University. And then I'm going to click it. You'll see some sponsors. Don't click those. Keep scrolling down, and it's going to be this one, odbu.org. And that stands for Our Daily Bread University.org. So I'm going to click it. And then it has a sign-in portion right over here, if you see where my mouse is. So it's sign in. And your sign-in username is going to be heavensedna@gmail.com. And the password is Trinity, capital TRINTY, 2468, and then the exclamation point. So let me go and do that. You see that right there? So it has that exclamation point. So don't forget that. And then you log in. My internet's a little slow. So you have your classes when you first come in, and it says your enrolled classes. So I just want to show you a few things here. You can take a tour, which you may want to do, honey. So by taking a tour, it may kind of show you where each thing is at. So it may tell you this is where this is basically doing what I'm doing, but it may be a little more organized and stuff like that. But I want to show you over here where it says Edna Ajar. Okay. I'm going to click it, and I'm going to go to My Classes. And as you see, under your classes is right here, 5 lessons, what the Bible is all about. Okay. There's another little tab. You see My Rewards, My Awards, and then My Saved Classes. I'm going to start dropping classes in this one for you as I pray and ask the Holy Spirit to reveal wisdom to me of what you should be taking. So you click here, My Saved Classes, and you'll see where it says New Testament Basics. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the classes that you're not enrolled in yet, but they're saved for later. So let's say we wanted to enroll, and I think you can enroll in as many classes as you like, but it's good to take one course at a time. But you click on it where the saved class is, and then over here you see where I went from green to purple. It says take this class, and then you'll click there and take the class. It always gives you a little synopsis right here. How to Get Out of the World Alive might be a better title for the New Testament. The main theme of the New Testament is that Jesus Christ came into the world to save sinners and to give you a quality of life that would be absolutely impossible if he hadn't come. How does this good news affect you? What will you do with this amazing gift that God offers you through Jesus Christ? The New Testament Basics course will show you the importance of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus and how to get out of this world alive. All right, so you'll see that it has each lesson, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then there's a wrap up at the end, okay? So you'll start with clicking on the little circle right here, well, after you take the class, and then you'll go each step one by one. These are the materials. It has a leader's guide and a New Testament book overview. So let's just open it up, see what it shows. So remember I showed you can put all your files in that box, right? In your folder that we created. So what I would do is in each course, right? Like understanding the New Testament, an overview of key people, places, and themes. And it is a really big book. So it's 123 pages long. Very, very long. So you may not want to go over all of it, but it's there for you. It's a really good resource because look, it goes over each book of the New Testament, It gives a little introduction. It goes over the sections of the New Testament, which will probably go over in your course, the Gospels, Book of Acts, and then the epistles, which are the letters, and then the Book of Revelation. And you can see it gives you a little synopsis of what that means. You will notice that we refer to books as we look at the New Testament. That's because, like the Old Testament, the New Testament is made up of a series, right here, see, of books within the larger book called the Bible. So Bible comes from the word biblios, which means collection of books. And as you go, it talks about the Gospels. So it says there are 4 Gospels, gives you information on that. In fact, the New Testament, book of Hebrews, written to Jewish Christians, tells us in the opening verse that God spoke to our fathers through the prophets in many portions and in many ways. That a reference to the Old Testament, this writer had to convince them that they should not abandon their commitment to Jesus. So it gives you like little things. It goes over the book of Acts. Looks like we're already at page 10. It goes over Luke. It goes over the epistles briefly. And then it looked like it went over each book individually. So I love this. So if you're ever just studying the Bible, this is a great resource. You definitely need to keep this. And I'm going to show you how I save it. And I already made a folder for you. So, like I would just, put course material. And then in this one, I would put like a New Testament book overview, which you can see right over here, top left, where my mouse is. But here it says Matthew, here's an overview. So presentation of the king, which is chapters 1 through 7, advancement of the kingdom, chapters 8 through 10, opposition to the king, chapters 11 through 13, compassion and glory of the king, 14 through 18, program of the king, 19 through 25, and the crucifixion and resurrection of the king, which is chapter 26 through 28 of Matthew. I love this because now it says, what does it say? I'm actually going to keep this for myself. It's really good for studying. And as Matthew presents the life, ministry, and death of Jesus in order to demonstrate that Jesus is the long-awaited Messianic king. He repeatedly reaches back into the Old Testament, validating Jesus' claims that he is the Christ. From Matthew's pen, we also gain a picture of Jesus as the king with a radical kingdom. The kingdom dominates this book as Jesus unfolds its characteristics, values, and strategies in future. So as you can see, honey, it has faces and places. So it's going to give you people that are familiar in the story. As you can see here, there's the disciples, right? You can see sometimes brilliant, sometimes dull followers of Jesus. You can see there's religious and political leaders of the day in this book. You can see there's Pharisees, Sadducees, scribes, chief priests, who rejected Jesus. So Judas, so it talks about, Peter. So it's going over the faces, the people. And if you look down here in Matthew's gospel, which we're looking right here to the bottom, this keeps popping up. We journey to a number of significant places. So it's going to tell you the places that the book of Matthew speaks on. Including them are Bethlehem, Jesus' birthplace, Jerusalem, Egypt, Galilee, Nazareth. So really, really good stuff. Here's key verses and themes. So the kingdom of heaven is a key verse here. It says the theme of Jesus' kingdom permeates Matthew's gospel account. Jesus went throughout Galilee proclaiming the good news of the kingdom. Themes, repentance and faith. So you're going to see that throughout. Why does it matter? It gives you a little synopsis. It gives you a little thing of why this book matters in Matthew. And then it goes to Mark. So this is a really good resource. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it, which is right here, the download button. I'm going to click it. And for me, mine's a little different. I already created you a folder, but I'm going to go to my desktop, which I created on yours, right? I'm going to go new folder. And I'm going to go, let's say, Our Daily Bread University course materials, which I kind of named something similar for yours. Now what I'm going to do in here, because each course is going to be different, and so I don't want to confuse the resources of the courses. So in this particular course, we already did the one on the hermeneutics or the Bible methodology for yours. But on this one, I would say it's a New Testament book. So it's New Testament course. So I usually go NT for New Testament course. And then I create. So that's one course I'm taking. Now, when I click in this, now, because there's only 2 resources, I think this one and the Leader's Guide, I don't need to create any other folders. I'm just going to put it in that one. So then I'm going to save. Now, if I had a different, I'll just leave it at that. So then we save. And now it's saved. Now I can go back to this resource anytime. So let me show you. I minimize my screen, get rid of the dictionary, and I look for my folder right here, ODBU, Our Daily Bread University Course Materials. I double click. New Testament course, that's the only one I have in here. And then right there's the file, and I can open it up anytime. I just double click on it, and it opens right up for me. So you can go back to it anytime you like. Let's see, if I go back to Chrome, now once I'm here, I'm looking at the book. If you see right here, there's a tab. That's because it's the file that we opened. But I want to get back to the course. So not this tab, but you go just a little bit over, and you can see that tab. Now I click on it, and now I'm back. Now I can click the Leader's Guide and see what that says. So that's the materials for it. This is going to be a course that you're going to take, I think, maybe second. We'll see. I've been praying. But this will kind of give you the Leader's Guide. It gives you a little bit of what this leader tells you about. So it introduces the lesson, review the lesson objectives. So this is basically your teacher, your professor giving you what's called a syllabus. It's giving you an introduction on what you're to learn in this. Okay? So introduce the lesson. Like, so this may be a leader guide if you're doing maybe a lesson with other people. Lesson 1, the New Testament Basics course provides a bird's eye view of the New Testament. It's designed to introduce us to what the New Testament is and how its books are organized and who the central characters are. Ask if anyone has questions about the lesson. So let's say you went through this course and you wanted to do it with others. This is the lesson, the leader guide that you would use. So if my Edna was like, okay, I'm going to lead a women's group on this course right here, we all do it together, right? Like if they paid for the course, some of these are free. So they, you may not, some they won't have to pay for, some they will. But let's say on this one, review lesson objectives below and briefly comment on any that you feel need to elaboration. By the end of the study, you should be able to explain what the New Testament is. Number 2, name the central focus of the New Testament. Number 3, explain what Jesus intended us to understand about himself. And number 4, describe your own relationship to Jesus' offer of eternal and abundant life. And it just kind of goes down. So it's really good. It has exercises. This exercise is designed to warm them up to talking about their relationship to the New Testament and to give you a sense of how familiar various group members are with the New Testament. Have you read it, studied it, taken a course on the New Testament? What New Testament books have you spent the most time in? Any favorite books or passages? It has a background study. What's the New Testament? Summarize the sad news that sin has alienated us from God, which separated us, alienated. It separated us from God. Listening guide question 2. Read Romans 3:23 to establish the fact of sin. Then read Isaiah 59:2 or Romans 6:23 for the consequences of sin. You may want to talk about Genesis 3 and Adam and Eve's original sin. Open a brief discussion on how they see the consequences of sin in our world. This is really, really good stuff. I'm actually so grateful to God that he provided this. You're going to learn so much. So if you ever do the lesson guide, I don't want to get you caught up on this because this, obviously, you have to be a sponge. You have to soak in. You have to learn. You have to study. And then when God calls you to lead a group, here it is. It's already material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the download button, remember, right up here. And it's already in the New Testament course thing, but I'm going to call this leader guide, save as, because I erased it. It had NT 109. See up here, over here. I don't like that title because I'm not going to understand what NT 109 is. If I have a bunch of different files by the time I do 5 courses, I'm not going to remember what that means. So I'm going to actually write leader's guide. Leader's guide. Now I know what that is. That's the leader's guide, and it's going in my NT course folder, and I'm going to save it, and there it is. So now I can exit out of both of those, that one and that one. Again, you take that course, that's New Testament Basics. If you want to go search for other courses, which I'm going to do, but I want you to search through too. If you feel something on your heart the Holy Spirit's revealing to you, honey, by all means, let me know about it. Like, I want to know because I'll let you know if it's a tougher class and not so tough. But if you click over here where it says all classes, my internet's being a little bit slow today. My apologies. I love you, by the way. I miss you, honey. Tell Trinity I miss them. Okay, so if you look here, here's the categories or the topics. Christian apologetics, that's like evidences. You're going to get into that later on in the year, not soon. Christian counseling, how you minister to people, church history. So we're probably going to do some counseling, some church history. So, obviously for ministering. Correctional ministry, you won't need that. That's for like prison ministries. Hermeneutics is basically Bible study. So we do want to do some of those. You're doing one. That's your first classes in that one. It's just a fancy word that says how to study the Bible. Ministry leadership, New Testament, Old Testament. We're definitely going to do a New Testament. We're definitely going to do an Old Testament. Spiritual formation, we definitely want to have one of those, a couple of those. Sports ministry, systematic theology, we're definitely going to do one of those. Urban youth, we probably won't do that. We may later on. And world missions, and then worldview and ethics. So we're definitely going to do one of those later on too. So here's the thing. As you scroll down here, over here still, class level, we're going to click on basic. Right now, we're just going to stick to basic classes. Intermediate's your middle. It gets a little bit tougher, and then your advanced gets really tough. So it'll take a little bit more dedication, a little bit more studying, but by the time you go from basic to intermediate, it won't be so difficult. So that's a good thing. Okay, now once I hit basic, it's going to have 47 different classes. And then if you look up here in the category, there's one for apologetics, two for counseling in the basic category, one for hermeneutics, that's the one you're doing, ministry leadership, New Testament, Old Testament, things like that. So this is the one you're doing right here. And then I'm going to go to Old Testament because we already got a New Testament one for you later on. And we want to get a good unfolding understanding of the Old Testament. So as I breeze through, this one's genocide in the Old Testament. That's God pouring out his wrath. You're actually calling me right now, honey. So I cannot answer because I'm recording, but I will call you back. So genocide in the Old Testament. We're not going to do that one. That's basically going to explain when people say God killed people and all this stuff. That's mean or whatever. It's going to actually show his holiness, why he had to do that, what was going on. So you don't need that one yet. We want to get something that's going to give a good overview of the Old Testament, if it's possible, if it's in here. Reading Psalms, reading Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Holy Land 1, Holy Land 2, Old Testament basics. That's what we want right there. So we're going to click on that. What's going on with my computer today? Oh, there it goes. And we're not going to take this yet, but what I'm going to do is if you see me how I scroll down, there's the take the class. If I keep scrolling down, here's the button. It says save class for later. So remember that folder I showed you earlier on, which was in here, the Edna, my classes, and then my save classes. Now it's saved, the save class for later. And I could even go right below it and go view all your saved classes. And there's Old Testament basic, New Testament basics. Probably would want to start with the old and then go into the new, but that gives you an idea. Now, if I want to go back, I can still go right here to all classes. All right, and then I'm going to click basic again because we want basic classes for you. We don't want things that are going to be too tough. We want you to be able to be helped. And let's see, worldview. Let's go to counseling because you're going to be dealing with a lot of women in ministry out here, even Trinity, right? So these two aren't really that good. I mean, they are making choices that will transform your marriage. My wife's like, that's an important one. Our marriage is good. I would probably focus more on ministry, but if God puts that on your heart to do this one earlier on, then do that. Coping with loss, that's for people that have experienced death in the families, loved ones, things like that. How do you minister to those people? I would look at that, and then I would actually go to intermediate and see what's there. There was one called Soul Care that was really good back in the day I did, and here it is. Soul Care Foundations, the basic model. Soul Care Foundations 2, Understanding People and Problems. Soul Care Foundations 3, Provisions and Practices. Here's 4. Ministering to people in pain. So all of these is in the intermediate, and honestly, my love, you definitely want to finish all these by the end of the year because this is good, good stuff. I took the soul care one. I definitely would probably even do it again. So I would say eventually you want to do that. What I would do is start with the ministering to people in pain. Do that first, and then get into the soul care. And they go in order: number one, number two, number three. So let's just go ministering to people in pain. And remember, this is intermediate. This is not a basic class, so it's a little bit more tougher. But when it comes to ministry or ministering, I think it's not going to be like a theology hard. So it could be a little bit easier. It won't be so difficult. You can see the lessons here. What is pain? What does it mean to minister? How an authentic Christian theodicy can help others. That's a big word, but it's basically like having God kind of ruling. What does that look like? Listening without judging. Ministry intervention number one, helping people think differently about the situation. I may even take this course myself, honey. Helping people respond to their circumstances, helping people develop resilience, forgiveness, prayer. This is a great one. We're definitely going to save this for later. You're going to love this class for sure. And then we're going to go to see what kind of class content. Okay, it doesn't have any, it looks like it doesn't have any, what do they call it, like downloads or anything like that. No paperwork, at least right now from what I can tell. So there's nothing for us to download. And let's see, objectives, you can always click here and it's going to give you an objective for the class. Number one, understand various definitions and causes of pain. Number two, define minister and explain how a minister comes alongside people in pain. Number three, learn to make sense of life's negative experiences in light of who we believe God is. And number four, identify and employ various methods of intervening in people's lives in order to help them. I'll tell you right now, my love, by you taking this class, this will make you and me a better mother and father to Trinity. I think this is really, really good. This is going to be good stuff. I would even consider you doing this one first before even the Old Testament and New Testament. But whatever God lays on your heart, because obviously having the Old Testament, New Testament kind of shows that unfolding, but may the Lord's will be done. So we saved it for later. And then I go back over here to all classes and I click it again. And I just want to breeze again to see kind of what's out there. Having a good worldview is good. So like you can see worldview and ethics. I'm going to go back to basic because we want to stick to the basics for now. We don't want to do anything that's going to bring any burden on you. We want you to enjoy these classes. So systematic theology, they have one course. You will want to take this eventually. Theology basics, definitely we're going to save this one. And also what I would do with this theology one is that book I just got, Trinity, which I'm going to do these screenshots too because I got the book on my books. So I think I'm going to read for Trinity, and then you could read along with him as I go through the book for him. Okay, so I think that'll actually work out really, really well. And then you can take this class, and that'll be kind of a good primer. So I went down here, and I saved the class. And over here, you have a leader's guide and theology definitions. Really nice. So I love this. It has a definitions book thing. That way you're like, what's theology? What's this mean? It tells you right there. What's theology? Systematic theology. It's going to have other stuff. Arminian theology. I don't really want you getting into all that. So I'll go over this with you. Biblical theology is good to know. Old Testament theology. Reformed theology, I probably won't have you read this, or we'll do it together, just because there's a lot of heavy stuff, and then there's things in the body where there's, there can be division, and because some people think certain theology is right. I mean, we all have our own theology, so, but we want to be loving and graceful, and at least orthodox, in the most sense that we can. So, yeah, but at least it'll give you some probably definitions later on, so that's good. And I like that. It's good for you. But when we get to that point, that's definitely not a class I would take right away. But let's go back to classes, all classes. And I want to go to worldviews. Let's go back to basic. So I'm going to click basic. And if you ever want to browse, you can click you could just scroll and just look at all the different, you know, ones they have. We believe in the Holy Spirit. That's an advanced class, though. So each color shows what it is. This kind of maroon color, dark purple or red, like a maroon, that means advanced. If it's blue, dark blue, means intermediate, which means middle level. If it's green, that's basic level. Okay, so that way you know going in. So I'm going to click on basic classes again. And we're going to go to worldview and ethics. I just want to see what's in there. There's 2 classes, so I just want to see world religion basics, worldview basics. How would your life be different if you had been born into another home, culture, etc.? So let's just take a look. I just want to look at it. Having a good foundation of worldview. These are like entry-level apologetics classes. Your perspective of life is influenced by your culture, your background, and your life experiences. This is called your worldview. The Worldview Basics course will compare 7 major worldviews and examine what makes a biblical worldview so unique. Great class. You definitely need this. Very important. What are the major worldviews? Questions a worldview seeks to answer. Questions a worldview seeks to answer to. Distinctives of a biblical worldview. Which worldview will you choose? Course completion. Great short course. Excellent, excellent, excellent. This is a good primer for you to understand some of the false religions out there, how the Bible contrasts those ones. It has a leader's guide if you ever want to do a course with others. This is a good class. I'm just going to hit the back button, which is right up here. Rather than going to all courses doing it, I'm just going to hit back because I was already there. And I'm going to go back now. I did worldview basics. Here's world religion basics. Eventually, not now, because I want to work with you on these. This will probably be a little bit more heavier on the different religions. So it says the world is getting smaller all the time. People are moving into your neighborhood that have different religious beliefs than you. How can you be respectful and genuine with them if you don't really know and understand what they believe? The World Religions Basics course will provide you with an overview of the religious faiths and practices of Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, comparing their beliefs about God, creation, sacred scriptures, and salvation. So it's going to give you an overview of what they believe, and that way you can be more firmer about what we believe, and you can minister more when people have false beliefs, and you'll be able to understand that. And this is a very short course, but I'm not going to save it for you yet. We'll focus on that other one first. And I'm going to go back to all classes. And it's always good to have a church history, so let's go to basic. And they don't have any church history in the basic course. Bummer. So let's try intermediate. And they don't have it there either. Let's try advanced. And they do have, so in the advanced, they have 12 church history courses. So I'll review one of them and see how advanced it is. So, because you definitely want to eventually learn. But here's the ancient church. That would be a good one to start with because that's the very beginning, like in the book of Acts. Let's see, actually, the survey of church history would probably be your best bet because it kind of goes over a broad. This would be the first one you'd want to do. Survey basically means it's going to have all these included, but not so in detail, just a brief summary from beginning to end. Martin Luther, Charismatic Movement, Augustine Medieval Theology. A lot of these you won't need, but we'll definitely do eventually, where did I say, Survey of Church History. We're definitely going to do Ancient Church, really good. And then we're definitely going to do the Reformation Church. And then later on, if we want to look at a Martin Luther or something like that, you could just watch Torchlighters. All right, so that kind of summarizes it. If you have any questions, let me know. Here's your profile, and then here's your profile up here. So up top right, also here. So you click it, and it goes right to your profile. Here's your classes. It says profile. This just has your name. Here's your classes. If you did groups, don't worry about that. Connections, don't worry about that. Don't worry about subscription. Discussion questions, don't worry about that yet. Once you had a group, then you could do discussion questions. All right. And it may ask you in some of the courses to respond to maybe some discussions. So if you get to that, just let me know. But you're going to click classes. And here's your classes that you're in. This is your first one. And if there's something that you don't understand, just let me know. Um, and what I would probably have you do is, again, read that How to Study the Bible for Kids book. It's a very easy book. It's simple. And I think then you'll have a greater understanding of this. But anyway, I can help you. Maybe I can share my screen and we can do it together if that's something you would like to do. And then remember, My Saved Classes. We click on that. And then here's all the saved ones we have right here. Really good stuff. All right, my love. So I'm going to end this recording. I hope it did a good job. And I am going to stop.